And we're recording. Okay, so thanks very much for making time for us. You are Molly Hughes. What do you do, Molly?
I'm a lecturer in the Civil and Environmental Engineering department here at Auburn.
Okay, how long have you been doing that?
Oh my goodness, since 2003.
What have you always been an academic? Did you work in the private sector?
I did work for the Air Force Research Lab for, whoa, let's see, a few years. And I had worked for them at Tyndall Air Force Base for a few years and then at Eglin Air Force Base for a few years before I came here.
Sure, sure. Um, how did you stumble into engineering, or was that always your plan?
Well, you know, it was not what I had originally planned. I had planned to go to, well, I did go into pre med and had thoughts about going into medical school, but when it came time to get towards the end of that, I just thought it really wasn't the right thing for me. And so I had a friend who's at the, this many years ago, of course, and I had a friend whose dad was actually the head of the civil engineering department here. And she was going to get her degree in civil engineering. And so we chatted and I talked with him and decided, yeah, engineering might be the thing for me. So that's when I said, okay, I'll do it.
So you're an Auburn alum.
I am.
What
Actually, I
year?
grew up here as well.
When were you a student at Auburn?
Well,
Look,
well, I get that
I'm
pre-med degree was
I'm
back in,
53, so I mean
yeah, no, no,
I'm
no,
not
it's okay.
sure.
I'm trying to get it right. So the pre-med, that pre-med thing was back in the 80s. And then I was in civil engineering from 87 to 90. I got my undergrad in 90 and then my master's here in 92.
Okay, I was a 90 grad myself for my U,
Right.
so you're in good company. Um, so I kind of the purpose of all this is that there's clearly a disparity in the engineering fields between men and women. It's still very much a boys club, and so I another paper I worked at several years ago. I sat down and did a roundtable with several young women who were students, grads, and a couple professionals, asking them kind of what their experience was.
Sure.
You mentioned you worked for the Air Force for a while. The Air Force could be more of a, the military is more of a meritocracy than the private sector. But tell me, when you were studying engineering, what was the makeup of the classes you were in?
And as far as the male to female ratio, right?
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I don't know exactly, but there were certainly, it was predominantly male, and I would guess, I don't know, I really don't know. I'm going to guess between 15 and 20% female, but I'm
Right.
not really sure.
Okay, so you had women classmates. Did you have like any teaching
I did.
assistants or professors who were women?
I had women classmates, and I had women teaching assistants.
Hmm.
I don't think that at the time, well, at least not in the civil engineering field. When I was taking
Sure.
physics and calculus and stuff, there were women that were teaching
Uh-huh.
assistants, and I'm sure there were probably women professors. But at the time, I don't think there were any women civil engineering professors. That's true.
Right. Now you had mentioned you thought about med school and decided it wasn't for you, and then a friend talked to you about engineering, and that got you thinking in that direction. Um, I'm curious. At the time you were in school, I mean, I there were uh, a lot of girls I graduated from high school with who went on to college with the rest of us.
Mhm.
And a few of them I recall went, I'm from Indiana. So if you wanted to be an engineer, you went to Purdue. And I
Sure.
recall a few of them going off to Purdue. And I haven't talked to them forever or whatever. What was it like being a young woman going into that situation? Uh, you said you had teaching assistants, but obviously everything was run by guys because it's always been run by guys. And what were there barriers there? Were there things you had to put up with in class that the boys didn't have to put up with?
You know, this is going to sound like I'm making this up, but there really wasn't. I mean, at the time,
Good.
there really wasn't. It just wasn't. Again, it's going to sound made up, but it just really wasn't an issue. I mean, sure, there were more guys than there were females that were in the classes,
Right.
and like I said, all the professors were males, but I just never encountered the situation where I felt that there was any discrimination at all. It
Oh,
was,
good.
I mean, I know that sound, maybe I just wasn't aware of it, but maybe I'm just walking around in a haze, but it really wasn't a problem at the time.
I guess maybe to expand the scope a little bit, what did do do you feel like other people had the same expectations of you that they had of the guys in the program?
I think so. I mean, I think so. And I think by and large, you know, I will say at the time, it seemed like the, well, but there was just a disparity, not, I don't mean a disparity, but there was a spread there also. I was going to say, I think anecdotally, the females probably had better grades than the males at the time, but that's not really true. I think there was a mix. And so I don't really think it was that much difference in the performance, in classes and that kind of thing.
I don't think it's an overgeneralization to say that young women of that age tend to take things more seriously than young men of that age.
Well,
Speaking
that's probably true.
speaking as a former young man myself, I mean, I could admit that.
That's
Uh,
perhaps true.
yeah. Um, it's something. Another thing I've noticed over the years, I've had younger women tell me that some of them have dealt with um, the assumption on the part of others, or maybe even of their parents, of oh great, you're in college, you'll get your MRS degree and find a great guy and have a great wonderful life out in the suburbs. Um, what I mean, did you ever encounter that yourself? Do you still see that? I mean, and women rightfully get really angry. I shouldn't say angry, but they're
Oh, sure.
obviously offended by that, and I
Of course.
completely understand why. But but nonetheless, 30 years ago more so, but even today, there are still some who say, "Oh well, great. Oh well, she's got a rich boyfriend, so she's all sad."
And
What?
that really, I mean, I've always heard that as well.
Right.
And I never encountered it, thankfully. And, I'm very incredibly blessed that my parents were, boy, they just wanted me to do whatever that I thought that was right for me
Sure.
and that I had a talent for. They were wonderful.
Mhm.
And, and I even hear that again, anecdotally these days, just, occasionally I will hear somebody say something like that about the MRS degree, but it
Mhm.
really wasn't prominent, at least from my understanding.
Okay.
And it's and
Sure.
it's not prominent now, but I'll occasionally hear it in the background, or
Yeah.
somebody might say something like that. But it's not a. I don't think, at least I've not encountered that it's a major thing.
Well, good. Good.
Yeah.
I'm curious. There's also a lot of talk, especially politicians in the South are very big, and about economic development, bringing in jobs from outside the region, and talking about improving, participation in science, technology,
Sure.
engineering, mathematics. Um, they talk about STEM constantly,
Sure.
almost to the point of it. There's not as much follow through as you might think there might be. I'm curious as far as STEM instruction, targeting, girls in school or even, in high school with an
Sure.
eye towards what they're going to go on and study in college. What do schools do well now? What do they need to do better at in order, to make this? It's not just girls who aren't interested in math. Boys aren't interested in
Sure.
math either. But
Right.
particularly organizations like Women in Science and Engineering, they make a concerted effort to put this in front of young women and say, this even if you didn't think this was doable for you, it clearly is.
Oh
Talk a
yeah,
little bit about that.
I think schools at every level do now that has improved 100%. I mean,
Huh?
totally 100%, that it just didn't used to be existent
Right.
when I was going through school, and now it is prominent.
Hmm.
And so that is a wonderful thing. It is there have been as you said, a very concerted effort to promote STEM education for everyone,
Right.
of every race, nationality, orientation, whatever,
Sure.
so they have done a really good job of that, and a really good job of networking into the schools to get that. And of course now, high schools are doing such a wonderful job of incorporating engineering topics into their high school curricula, which
Sure.
again wasn't existent when I was going to school. So they've done a super job of that. Now, one thing that I think that everybody needs to work on, that I'm sure is the case everywhere, is that is wonderful, and I 100% agree that anybody that has that interest and the desire and the stick-to-itiveness to be successful in a STEM field, can. I think that everybody just has to, and I think everybody understands this. You're going to have to work hard to do it.
Right.
And so, yes, it is great that to promote that, but I think we need to tell them also, like, it's going to take a lot of work. And I think they know that, but it just, I think sometimes when they get to school here, it's a little bit of a rude awakening about the amount of work. But that's for anybody. You know, that's regardless of any characterization, of your personality. So, but another thing is, and I know you're going to talk with Natalie Mills, and I don't know how much you know about the 100 Women Strong, 100 Plus Women Strong program that is here at the university, but that is a super wonderful concerted effort to, right, to promote women's success in STEM, in engineering in particular. The 100 Women Strong is. But that's a wonderful, my goodness, it's just a tremendously wonderful organization that is so, just so totally focused and very organized and very effective in, the three, what do you call them, missions, I suppose, of the group are to recruit, reward, and retain, right, women, student, and faculty. So they just do a wonderful job, and I'm sure Natalie will tell you more about that.
Yeah, so I remember I used to cover Clemson University in the same capacity I cover Auburn now, and I recall the astronaut Mae Jemison came to Clemson to speak, and there was a line of probably 40 or 50 young women, nearly all of them engineering students, waiting to talk to her after. And she stood there for an hour and a half talking to people, giving out her card, her email address, and everything. Um, do do women do do women who are professional engineers who are out there doing it, do you see, I mean, a concerted effort on their parts to reach out to young women and say, there's absolutely a place for you here. You can make the same money anybody else makes. The work is needed. I mean, how do women in the profession help feed?
Oh, absolutely. That's it. That is an absolute. That's a great question. And that is absolutely apparent in the 100 Women Plus Strong, because that is really what they do. I mean, it is a group of professional women that purely voluntarily and purely altruistically are, mentors for the students, the women students in engineering. And, sure, in fact, just next week, there's an evening of networking and development that many of those professional women are going to come here or participate. Well, that's a virtual thing, but participate by Zoom. When we can't have in-person events, women travel from all over the country to come here and be here and to promote that. And again, purely voluntarily and purely at their own cost, just to come and do that very thing, that mentor and foster, good relations, and try to, of course, tell the students, this is what I went through, this is what I wish I'd done, this is what I should have done, and those kinds of things. And they're, it always amazes me. I mean, I'm here, I'm part of the group, but I mean, I work here, and I'm, I'm here, and it's easy for me, but it's not so easy for all of them, and they're doing it anyway. So I always think that that's just so admirable.
I mean, especially this push the last 10 or 12 years to really amp up awareness of this. I mean, is it showing results? I mean, in your classes, or is the gender makeup improving at all?
It is. We have made, now it's not, it's not like it went from 15% to 75%. It
Right.
hasn't made that much of a difference, but we have the College of Engineering, and I don't want to say numbers because I'm sure I'll get them wrong, and we
That's
can
fine.
find them out for sure. But I know that the College of Engineering here has a higher percentage of women than is average across the country.
Uh-huh.
And
Uh-huh.
so, and I don't know what the differential is, but it is working, and it is, we are making an impact. So that group is, I don't want to promote myself by any means, but that group is certainly making an impact. And we hear stories all the time of students, that were freshmen when they were introduced to 100 plus women strong. And then when they graduate, they say, that was just wonderful to have that mentor. It meant
Uh-huh.
it meant a lot to me. And especially even just little things like, we have in the fall, we have a new student welcome event. And just for them to, find a group that they can associate with right away is important for them.
Oh,
And so
sure.
just
Yeah.
all kinds of things like that.
So it sounds. I mean, it sounds like from where you're talking that these that I mean I'm a reporter. I'm skeptical about everything, and I mentioned before my skepticism over real public commitment to STEM instruction. But it sounds like maybe I'm being a bit too cynical about that. Am I?
Well, no, I mean, I think maybe you are a tad, because I think it really is working, and I think it's making an impact. I think it's not, like I said, I don't think it's the 15 to 75%
Uh-huh.
impact yet. Hopefully it will be, or at least to
Right.
50%, but it is making an impact. And I think slowly but surely it's grabbing on and making progress and heading, in the right direction. And and you're right, it's not like instantly, when they started this push that it actually was instantly like, oh yeah, everybody's going to do that now.
Yeah.
But I really do think it's making inroads.
Well, good. Good.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm always happy to be wrong about things. So that's. I mean, I'm glad to hear that. I'm curious.
Sure.
One last question, just in the female students that you stay in touch with who go out into the world and work in these professions, how do they find climbing the corporate ladder? I mean, are they becoming bosses? Are they running the big projects, or is it still the boys are in charge of that stuff too?
Yeah, no, I mean, they're not all CEOs, but I
Oh yeah.
mean, yeah, I think that they generally, at least again, from my limited knowledge and the people that I know, they've been fine, and they've been climbing the ladder, and they're promoted. And I'm sure that there are challenges that everybody has had,
Mhm.
and I'm sure that there are stories where that is not the case. But just by and large, generally, the people that I am aware of have really, not been stifled,
Mhm.
and have been able to make the impact that they wanted to. And they, just like anybody else, they have to take certain steps to be able to do that. But by
Sure.
and large, I believe they have been able to.
Okay. So, and this is absolutely the last question. I promise this time.
That's
Uh,
fine.
uh, let's say you're talking to a girl who's in the seventh or eighth grade, maybe a freshman in high school, with some aptitude for math, who is a good student. What is your sales pitch to her to get her to consider an engineering field?
Oh, I mean, I guess I would just tell her, look, now there are a lot of programs where, you can investigate the technical sciences, and you can take that engineering class in school, or you can take that physics class in school, or you can take that, goodness, now they have everything. Now they have,
Yeah.
I don't know what all they have, but don't be afraid to take those.
Mm-hmm.
Check it out, see if it's something that you like.
Right.
I think it's not for everybody, just
Mm-hmm.
because you know nothing's for everybody, and so somebody that has an interest in that would be the ones that check it out, of course. But absolutely, I would say don't be afraid at all. I mean, even if all your friends are not doing it,
Mm-hmm.
even if it's something in your head that makes you think, well, that would be really cool, then just go ahead and do it. And it's fine if all your friends aren't doing it. Of course, that's a big thing at that age, of course. But take that step forward and go ahead and give it a try and see if that's something that you're going to like. And if you like it, great. If you don't, that's okay.
Mhm.
And then, there's all kinds of now here and everywhere else. I'm sure, we've got these summer camps for women and summer engineering camps for women, and, check out one of those and try those out and see if it's something that you think you have an interest in. And just don't be afraid to do it, I guess is what I'm saying. Don't be afraid to try it.
Nothing ventured, nothing gained. So,
That's right.
yeah.
That's right.
Molly, thanks for making time for me today. I really appreciate it. This is a super help.
No problem. I'm happy to do it.
Great. Thank you.
You take care.
You too.